Doomsday versus Sentry, the unstoppable, unkillable monster who's been Superman's downfall more times than not. Well, now he's taking on Marvel's Superman, the Sentry. But who's really going to come out on top here in the fight? And really, is this fight even close? Let's get into it. Years ago, there was a superhero whose name was hailed above all others. Known simply as the Sentry, he inspired Angel to greater heights. He helped Spider-Man win a Pulitzer, was Reed Richards' best friend, and was the only man who could calm down the Hulk. One day, however, the world forgot about his existence, himself included. So who really was the Sentry? Well, Bob Reynolds was a man suffering from schizophrenia and used drugs to try and cope with his illness. At the same time, Bob happened to work for a professor who had been outsourced working on an amplified version of Captain America's super soldier serum. Drinking the serum intending to get high, Reynolds instead gained immense power, becoming the Sentry. However, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Bob's darker impulses soon took shape as a malevolent being known as the Void. And from there, an eternal conflict began, with Sentry striving to be the world's most powerful hero, all while stopping the Void from destroying everything. And though he would try again and again, Sentry could never completely vanquish his demons. Sentry is a hero unlike any other, in that he's immortal, has absolutely no defects, and there isn't anything else like him in all of existence. He's said to contain the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, and has been described as a godlike being, one of the most powerful beings in the universe. But has almost moved past that now. Now Sentry believes that he is everything. He can go anywhere, do anything. He's bigger than God. He has the power of the universe itself. Sentry is arguably the strongest hero in the Marvel Universe, as him matching World War Hulk in a hand-to-hand fight is usually seen as a lower showing for Sentry, and Sentry holding back. And Hulk on an average day can shake worlds with his strength. World War Hulk is Hulk at his angriest, where just him walking was enough to shake the world. And Sentry was able to match him in a fight and was holding back. And it only gets crazier from there. The Void has broken basically every bone in Hulk's body before, and Sentry was also able to fight against Immortal Hulk, the same Hulk that could put down Thor with just one punch. Speaking of Thor, Sentry has knocked out Thor in 2 punches while shaking the planet to its core. He's fought against and could beat a team containing Gladiator, Captain Marvel, Beta Ray Bill, and more. And then fought against the Avengers with Thor, Captain Marvel, and She-Hulk and easily beat all of them. Sentry has destroyed moons and shattered planets and torn holes in the fabric of space and reality. His strength has no known upper limit. Sentry is also insanely durable, like to the point where he'll openly take punches to the face from World War Hulk to just amp himself up for the fight ahead. And when he decides to stop holding back, most of Marvel's heavy hitters can do absolutely nothing to him. Nukes don't faze him at all. He can survive entering the sun. Thor and his lightning doesn't put him down. You would think that Sentry is almost the unbeatable man. Funny enough though, that's not true. In fact, he's been killed more than once. Null has ripped him in half, and Thor managed to kill him in Siege. Although when Donny Cates had Null kill Sentry, he later admitted that he knew basically nothing about merged Sentry at the time. So maybe we can throw that one out. And during Siege, you could argue that it wasn't as much Thor straight killing Sentry, but also Sentry fighting against the Void and basically committing suicide. Just suicide by Thor. Either way, I'm just trying to talk about Sentry's crazy healing factor. Like Thor splattered his head of Mjolnir, Sentry instantly regrew it. He's flown into the sun and automatically healed from everything. He's had his head blown off and again regrew it. He's even torn his own head in half just to basically show off. Even when Sentry did die at the end of Siege, he didn't actually die for good. His body rebuilt itself atom by atom and he came back to life. But what's even more impressive is that Sentry isn't just able to heal from physical wounds, but almost metaphorical ones as well. Like Morgan Le Fay went back in time and killed Sentry, presumably before he ever even took the serum and transformed himself into Sentry, killing him and effectively wiping him from existence and removing him from the timeline. Sentry came back a few moments later. And then Molecule Man, the one guy who was able to match up against the Beyonder, who for the longest time was the most powerful being in all of Marvel, he took Sentry and disintegrated him on a molecular basis several times. And Sentry was able to come back each time, instantly regenerating himself on the molecular level and overcoming Molecule Man. And when it comes to Sentry, it's not just strength and durability and basic powers like that. Sentry has basically every single power in the book. He's got energy projection and eye blast, but also the ability to manipulate and absorb energy, create energy shields, or trap people in shields of energy. He can manipulate weather, manipulate darkness, and create tendrils of darkness that are enough to nearly kill the Avengers, completely dismantle the Hulk, and will also torture anyone it touches, giving them horrible images of their past and future. Sentry can devour souls. He's actually one of the world's most powerful telepaths. And one of the biggest things that Sentry has going for him is his matter and molecular manipulation. Sentry actually believes that is one of the bases for all of his powers. And once Sentry learned that he had this power, he instantly defeated Molecule Man. Molecule Man, the guy who again was the only match for the Beyonder and could have a multiversal fight. The guy who could destroy the universe and was the source of all of God Emperor Doom's powers. Sentry beat him by using molecular manipulation, and he had just discovered that he even had that power. So yeah, safe to say that Sentry is probably the most powerful superhero that Marvel has ever created. And that's saying something. While on the other hand, Doomsday is essentially the living embodiment of death. Darkseid himself called him death personified. And with accolades like that, you gotta be impressive. And Doomsday really is. Superman said that Doomsday could rip the planet in half if he really wanted to. And man, he's sent Supergirl flying. He's knocked around Wonder Woman. He's overpowered both Orion and Martian Manhunter. John said that he'd never been hit as hard as he's been hit by Doomsday. He's even taken down the whole Justice League before. I mean, Doomsday has trounced the League all by himself. And there have been all his fights against Superman. He's punched Superman like he's never been hit before. He can hit harder than anybody else Superman has fought. And Doomsday just continues to get stronger and stronger as they fight. I mean, there was a reason why they created this guy back in the 90s in the comics. It was literally to kill Superman, to be stronger, to be more powerful than Superman. And man, has he shown that over the years. He might have even shown that he's more powerful than Superman's ultimate villain, Darkseid. He fought against Darkseid, overpowered Darkseid, beat Darkseid all up, just trashed the guy and left him for dead. Like literally on the verge of death, where he could barely stand, and Superman had to step in and save the guy's life. That's how bad Doomsday beat Darkseid, the Lord of Apocalypse, the guy who's beat Superman with just 2 punches before. Yeah, Doomsday is no joke. But also, I would really take Doomsday legitimately beating Darkseid with a big hunk of salt. That doesn't seem right at all. Basically though, Doomsday has done a lot of impressive stuff. There was even a time where he plowed through many different versions of GOG, who were able to fight against members of the Justice Society and defeat Kingdom Come Superman. And he's torn through countless different Empirix probes, where just one probe was enough to give Superman a run for his money. And Doomsday is really just as tough too. He's taken attacks from Wonder Woman, from Martian Manhunter, from a lot of Kryptonians, from Superman himself. He's taken punches from Superman before, where Clark said he was hitting him with everything he's got. He's taken thousands of punches from Superman all in an instant. He's been sent flying around and landing all over the place by Superman on just a semi-regular basis, and Doomsday just consistently refuses to go down. He's also taken Superman's heat vision, blast from Green Lantern, Orion's energy beams, a Guardian of the Universe went full-on kamikaze on him, and it just barely put Doomsday out. He came back a little while later. Even Darkseid's Omega beams were enough to put Doomsday down for like maybe a few seconds. He was back up almost instantly. And of course, here's the real kicker. Doomsday quite literally cannot be killed. He can't be permanently put down. He's always going to keep on coming back. No matter what you throw at him, no matter what you send his way, you can even straight up kill him. Doomsday is still going to keep on coming back. Doomsday is literally evolved past death. So, who's winning this fight? Well, it might not actually be as close as we make it out to be. Because here's the thing. I actually think Doomsday is a little bit overrated sometimes. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. I am for Doomsday. I am pro Doomsday. This is a pro Doomsday YouTube channel. But even so, he might not quite be as powerful as we make him out to be. Now, hear me out. Doomsday is still insanely powerful. It's just that pretty much all of his best stuff comes from the Hunter-Prey storyline. Like, let's do a little study here. Let's divide Doomsday up into eras. OG Doomsday, right after his creation, was a pretty powerful monster. This was when he was created on Krypton thousands of years ago by a scientist named Bertrand as just a living weapon of mass destruction. It was basically done by creating a hybrid, leaving it out in the wilderness, letting it die and be killed, and then using its genetic material to make an even more powerful clone of that hybrid before it. This went on countless times. Doomsday was killed countless times, went through millions of years in evolution and basically a few decades, and that's how we got this guy. He killed several Green Lanterns. It was only somewhat stopped by a Guardian sacrificing himself. This version of Doomsday died when he fought the Radiant though. In fact, the Radiant killed him so badly that Doomsday spent like the following millennia healing, drifting through space, and eventually falling to Earth. When he woke up in the present day, which is where we got Death of Superman, well, he was still pretty powerful, even slightly stronger than Superman was at the time. He fought a trash tier version of the Justice League, some real C and D tier heroes, and kicked their butts. But he was also lucky. Martian Manhunter was incapacitated by fire, and Maxima just kind of wandered around. There was a moment in the fight where Superman and Maxima together had him on the ropes, but an explosion separated them, and Superman was back to being alone. Supergirl was one-shotted here, arguably Doomsday's best feat in the story arc, and Superman was forced to fight into the last breath just to avoid human casualties. In the end, we saw pretty clearly that Superman was not as strong as Doomsday. He had occasional help during the fight, but he was strong enough to mostly hang with him in a fight, going as far as to breaking some of Doomsday's bones and messing up his face. Sometime later though, Doomsday came back in Hunter-Prey. That's where all the hype around him comes from. At that point, Superman's powers were starting to really increase and reach the levels he's known for. But there's one problem with this storyline. That's the fact that writer Dan Jorgens has some pretty strong opinions regarding power scaling. Did I say strong opinions? Because you can also just mean wrong opinions. He openly admitted in an interview that he considers Darkseid to be a weak physical villain. So therefore, he wrote Doomsday kicking Darkseid's butt unapologetically. That inconsistency aside though, Doomsday does have some other very impressive feats throughout the arc. He killed the Radiant, the guy who originally defeated him. And then Superman amped himself with a mother box and had help from Wave Rider, and Doomsday was still comfortably winning the fight. Doomsday was still not absolutely unstoppable, or just unthinkably powerful though. Remember in Avengers Endgame, where Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor fought against Thanos? That's about how this fight went too. Doomsday is still comfortably winning, but not by an absolutely insane degree. Next up was the Doomsday Wars. That's when Brainiac transferred his mind to Doomsday's body and kicked the real Justice League's butt. Possibly Doomsday's absolute best feat. Just if we ignore the fact that it was Brainiac in control. Then came Our Worlds at War. Here, Doomsday was mind-controlled into thinking Imperiex was Superman, and Doomsday was set free to destroy dozens of Imperiex probes. Another contender for probably his best feat ever. I mean, just one probe is enough to fight against Superman, almost beat Superman. And Doomsday is whipping through tons of these things. But once Doomsday faced the real Imperiex though, he was killed, reduced to a smoking skeleton in a single attack. And Doomsday died, like, for real. For real. So even at his most powerful, his limits were pretty clear, all things considered. And here's the thing, after dying at Imperix's hands, Doomsday never really returned to his previous level of power. Just a few issues later, he came back, cloned by Lex Luthor. This became the standard Doomsday going forward, and Superman beat him alone. He came back in Infinite Crisis, and two Supermen beat him in just a few moments. Cyborg Superman fought him equally. Several Kryptonians beat him to death. After the Imperiex encounter, Doomsday became a much less eventful enemy. But that's not to say that Doomsday isn't insanely powerful. He is 100%. This monster is a Superman killer. He's a Justice League buster. I don't think many heroes are going to be able to survive an encounter one-on-one with him. He's still one of the best, one of the strongest, one of the most powerful villains out there. He's still gonna be most any hero's Doomsday. That being said though, he's not beating Sentry. If he can't reliably beat Superman, well then he's not beating Sentry. Because if we're using a composite version of Sentry and Sentry at his best, well, he actually well surpasses anything Doomsday's done. I mean, he's destroyed planets all around him during his fights. It was said he was still holding back. Then, like he's been able to fight against the Hulk, easily overpower the Hulk. He was the only one who could even possibly stand up to World War Hulk when he was at his angriest. Sentry even broke every single bone in Hulk's body. But Hulk has had fights before where he's destroyed universes. He's shook the whole multiverse. And yet Sentry is powerful enough to leave Hulk terrified. Or Thor. Thor is strong enough to move 10 whole universes at the same time, but yet there have been several times where Sentry has just absolutely bodied Thor, and Thor isn't even powerful enough to fight back. Sentry is capable of operating on a potentially universal scale, and that's not even a stretch or an exaggeration. And I also think we can't overlook just how absolutely broken of a character Sentry is. Like, Sentry is the guy that your little brother makes up when he wants to create a hero who has every single power and is never gonna lose a fight. That's Sentry. For starters, there's just his durability and his healing. Morgan Le Fay went back in time and killed Sentry, presumably before he ever even took the serum that transformed him into the Sentry, killing him and effectively wiping him from existence and removing him from the timeline. Sentry came back a few moments later. The Molecule Man took Sentry and disintegrated him on a molecular basis several times. And Sentry was able to come back each time, instantly regenerating himself on the molecular level. Doomsday is good at coming back from the dead, and he will reliably always come back. You can count on that, but Sentry will come back too, and he might heal and come back even faster. And then there's his molecular manipulation, and with this power, well, he was able to instantly defeat Molecule Man. Molecule Man, the guy who, again, was the only match for the Beyonder and could have a multiversal fight. The guy who could destroy the universe is regularly seen and portrayed as a multiversal threat and was the source of all of God Doom's powers. Sentry beat him by using molecular manipulation, Molecule Man's own shtick, and he had just discovered that he even had that power. There's really no way for Doomsday to counter this from Sentry either, especially when Sentry is operating on this level. Now, are there different versions of Sentry that Doomsday can beat? Yeah, absolutely. Sentry has ebbed and flowed pretty much as Doomsday has. It seems like each time is a different power level for the character, and he's definitely had some low showings, like getting ripped in half by Null, or heck, even when he was killed by Thor. But if you're taking him at his best, well, this is a guy who can one-shot Celestials. He can beat Molecule Man. He can fight against Galactus. He can tear open universal rifts with his bare hands. At his best, Sentry is an absolutely broken character. He's got more than enough power to put Doomsday down. Sentry can win this fight, and it might not even be close. But what do y'all think? Sound off in the comments down below. I know you're gonna have thoughts and feelings on this one for sure. If you stuck around this long and made it to the end of the video, that's amazing. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting us. And if you want to go subscribe, well, go subscribe. You're going to see more videos like this one every single week. I'll see y'all then. I'll see y'all next time.